I've made my way through the valley, and I'm so glad to have met you right here on the Beacon on the Hill. I speak of none other than the Northern Caribbean University. Hi, I'm Janelle Powell, and today we will be featuring someone who it didn't take a lot of effort to find. I speak of none other than Nicolay Gunn. Let's see what she has to say.
Yourself, encourage yourself in the Lord. Art and craft, dancing, and drama and speech. Boom, boom. Oh God, the man dead. Boom, boom. The little pin dead too. The earth run red. That's it for now. With these marvelous talents, of course, I did not hesitate to enter into competitions. I entered into pageants, I entered into post and essay competitions, and JCDC competitions. The talent that I enjoy the most is, of course, drama and speech. It allows me to express myself, and not only myself, but fill the gap of doing other characters, which you can consider exciting or fun. To everyone that I come in contact with, I would like to leave with them happiness. And you know, to leave happiness with someone, you have to be energetic. And I like to see when persons smile, especially when I put that smile on someone's face. I get a good feeling from that. My philosophy is taken from Proverbs 22, verse 17. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit dryeth the bones. What greater word it is from God. Don't worry, that's just Nicolay in a nutshell. Thank you.
Didn't I tell you her personality was one in a million? That was Who's on the Hill. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Janelle Powell.
Oh yeah, let's put our hands together on this one. Come on. In the middle of the night, Lord, you're by my side, and whenever I cry, you wipe the tears from my eyes. So I lift my hands in worship. I dance like David danced. Father, you will never leave me. Today's a new day. I give you praise. Jesus, I'm sold out to you. Take my heart, take my mind. Lord, I belong to you. I am sold out, sold out. I'm sold out, sold out to you, to you. I'm sold out, sold out, sold out. I'm sold out to you, to you. You're my merciful Savior, my soul redeemer. Your soul, Savior danced. Father, you will never leave me. Today's a new day. I give you praise. Jesus, I'm sold out to you. Take my heart, take my mind. Lord, I belong to you. I am sold out, sold out. I'm sold out, sold out to you, to you. I'm sold out, sold out, sold out. I'm sold out, sold out. When I choose you over all my selfish ways, you show up, you show up. When I tell someone of your saving grace, you show up, you show up. So I lift my hands in worship. I dance like David dance. Father, you will never leave me, no. Today's a new day. I give you praise. Jesus, I'm sold out to you. Oh, take my heart, take my mind. Lord, I belong to you. I am sold out. Sold out to you. Sold out. I'm sold out, yeah, yeah, yeah. Sold out to you. Sold out. I present my body as a sacrifice. Sold out. Holy and acceptable. Sold out. Oh no. Sold out to you.
Oh, woo. What is? Feels good.
There were times when I can recall times when I was even, discouraged for doing poetry, and I was highly criticized, maybe more than I should have been. I'm not sure, but it was their opinion and I respected it. But it made me feel some sort of way. Nevertheless, I pushed through, regardless of the things that were said and the things that happened around me. I knew what I wanted. I wanted to inspire through poetry. I wanted to show persons that poetry isn't just a subject for the scholars, that it's an escape for the imprisoned. It's a source of inspiration, and it can be a lifestyle for all, and I just pushed with that. Well, poetic lifestyle is a name I would have coined a while back, around 2017, when I started writing poems and I fell in love with poetry. That name was coined after I realized that poetry would have been something I wanted to do for a while. It would have been, a culture, so to speak, a tradition, a lifestyle. And so I thought about, why not naming myself Poetic Lifestyle, and the name just stuck. Well, it's been amazing thus far. I can remember compiling the poems and quotes, and it was just a thrilling experience altogether. And then there were a few difficulties that I ran into when trying to publish the book, but nevertheless it happened and I'm grateful. And so far it's been amazing. I mean, the recognition, the commendations, it's just all been amazing, an amazing experience. I'm entirely grateful. The book focuses on a lot of societal issues that are important, that are relevant. And I think this book will, impact everyone, because there is at least one poem or quote that should speak to someone or speak to someone's situation. Poetry was and is therapeutic. There were times when I can recall there were times when I would have been going through some things, some really down moments that I didn't feel really comfortable talking to people about. And what saved me, my salvation at the time was poetry. Putting pen to paper and just documenting how I was feeling at the time, that really rescued me. I've noticed, I've observed, I've sighed at the fact that we live in a society where, men aren't being expressive enough, and I personally believe that is a factor which, adds to the rate of crime and violence we're now experiencing, and it is sad. I do believe wholeheartedly that if more persons altogether were to be more expressive, speak out about how you feel, as opposed to keeping it bottled up inside, all that emotion, all that anger, all that rage, then we would have better results today. We would have, a more meaningful life and a much lighter, environment.
Hey guys, Now, I'm sure that was more than a belly full of information. But please make sure you go and support Quaid by purchasing his book, Poetic, at NCU's bookstore located in Mandeville. Now, just before we go, I have to share a quote from Quaid Thompson. We are all birds beneath the sun, but our feathers are laid differently. You are who you are, not how you look. So until next time, guys, I'm your host, Kaden Hill. Stay blessed.
The proceeding is made possible by the Rural Refuse Campaign.
My name is Ruel A, and I'm here for change, competence, creativity, character, charisma, confidence, commitment, change.
That was made possible by the Rural Refuse Campaign.
I remember the first day I attended the prayer garden. I was sitting right here actually. And over the years I have continued to come because this sacred place has borne the burden of many of my testimonies and my prayer requests and has continually been a source of encouragement and inspiration to me. My desire is to see a greater revival of spirituality on this campus, where students will not be afraid to pray together and to lift high the mighty name of Jesus. My name is Sanoke Hubert, presidential candidate for the year 2020-2021 within the United Student Movement. On election day, vote for a new leader with a new vision, going in a new direction. Vote Sanoke Hubert.
Leadership is the capacity to translate a vision into reality. I am Marlene Campbell, and I have a vision that I so desire to translate into reality with your help in discovering the infinite possibilities of our academic and personal life. Now, how will we achieve these realities? By augmenting the current tutoring program with the hope of improving the academic performances of the student population, improvement to student advisement, lobbying for monthly meetings with students and their academic advisors, and lastly, leadership exploration and developmental workshops with the aim of achieving holistic development. Help me help you to translate our vision into reality. Vote Marlene Campbell for your next VP of Academic Affairs for the United Student Movement 2020 to 2021 regime.
Hey friends, my name is Emmanuel Confessor Romaldo. I am your next Vice President of Finance and Planning, and I am here motivating you to vote for me on April 8th. A vote for me means transparency, more scholarships and financial assistance, and my new brainchild DEP, which stands for Daily Essential Packages. Listen, you are in good hands. Just believe. I, Confessor Ken.
Welcome to our listeners and viewers to the unprecedented USM virtual presidential and vice presidential debates for 2020. I am your moderator, Onyeka Nevins, and we're looking forward to have a wonderful time once again. This is our second day, and we're looking to get things off. I want to introduce for the opening remarks the Director of Elections, Policies and Constitutional Affairs, Michael Allen, who will just into those preliminaries. From there, we'll have the opening prayer by the USM President 2019-2020 regime, Sir Kavian Allen. Mr. Michael Allen?
Yes. Good afternoon to our live audience tuning in on our USM Facebook page and also on YouTube Live. Welcome to this historic and final round of the USM 2020 debates. Truly, it has been an exciting campaign season as the candidates utilize the various online platforms available to make their campaign a success. At NCU, we are indeed trendsetters, and not even the great corona could postpone this debate. With that said, let me remind you of some important election guidelines. Please remember that we are a Christian university. As such, our comments and questions to the candidates must be a reflection of our university's ethos. Please be guided accordingly. Remember to listen critically to the plans that will be presented and vote for the best student leader. I now turn over to Mr. Kavian Allen, who will lead us in opening prayer.
Oh, Father and oh God, we thank you so much for today. We thank you for life and we thank you for the opportunity where all of us can share in this historic occasion. In a very special way, oh God, I put before you all the persons who will be debating. May you give them clarity of thought, and oh God, may they articulate all their plans and their projections in a timely manner. Be with also the electorate that as they make a decision, they will make the right decision. Be with the panelist, the moderator, and also our judges. And may we have a productive afternoon. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Mr. Allen and Allen. I want to use the opportunity now to introduce our judges. I want to first start with introducing Dr. Newton Clegon, Vice President of Student Services. On the judging panel, we also have Ms. Noreen Daly, Chair of the Department of Communication Studies. We also have Mr. Kevon Grant, who is a past United Student Movement president, the year 2014 to 2016. That's a 2014 to 2016 regime. And we also have the famous Mrs. Janelle Hay Nelson, who is also a past member of United Student Movement. Her portfolio was for the Vice President of Finance and Planning, regime 2017-2018. These individuals will make up the judging panel, and I'll just like the candidates vying for the presidential and vice presidential position to take note of these individuals. I want to give you now a brief overview of what we are up against today. Today, we'll be having the second round or the second debate for the vice presidential candidate, specifically for those persons vying for the position of finance and planning. We have two persons there, Emmanuel Confessor and Nicole Scarlett. And then we'll have the vice presidential candidate for academic administration. We have two candidates there, Marlene Campbell and Naphthalis James. Just to let you know that within the vice presidential candidates debate, each candidate will be receiving a limited time of approximately 5 minutes to present your plans and present your manifestos and your arguments. Then you'll be fielding questions for approximately 10 minutes from the judges and our listening and viewing audience. You'll be given approximately 1 minute for a response time maximum for those questions. And then you'll be allowed to ask your interlocutor, that is the individual you're going up against, a question, one question, and that individual will be allowed to respond only once. I will give you the cue for when that segment comes along. Just keep that in mind. To our presidential candidates, when we get to that section of the debate, you'll be allowed 8 minutes per candidate to present your plans and manifestos, after which you'll be fielding questions from the judges and the listening and viewing audience as we stream for approximately 15 minutes. You have 1 minute maximum to respond to any question that is being asked of you. And we are asking that you keep these times in mind and be mindful of these times. You also will have the opportunity to engage your interlocutor with one question, and so an appropriate response to follow. With that said, I am now going to assume that everything is clear as to how we will proceed, so that we can now proceed into the virtual United Student Movement vice presidential and presidential debates for 2020. If it is that we are not clear, I would like to see someone indicating a hand so I can offer clarification. While it is that I look, if I see a hand, I'll just like to clarify when I introduce Kevon Grant, past USM President, 2014-2015 regime. That is constitutionally allowed, not what I said before. Thank you very much for that. So I don't see a hand at this point in time. I'm looking forward to a very stimulating debate. Before I open the floor to our vice presidential candidates, can I ask those that are listening, those that are watching, please send this link all around the world so that we can have participation and we can individuals coming in and being a part of this debate. I am tasking you with that, even as I now open the floor. This is something that they can't miss, and I want everyone to listen it. So tell your aunts abroad and your students who are home or at school or wherever they are, just bringing everyone into this debate and let us have a wonderful time. So with that said,
hello, Mr. Nevins.
Okay, so we have now here Dr. Newton Clegon.
Yes.
Yes, Dr. Clegon.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, everybody. I received an email a few minutes ago from Mr. Byron Buckley at CCNPR, and he has some concerns about the previous posting of a section of the debate that he has concerns about. So I would urge you not to tell your viewers to send this anywhere until we have reviewed the debate itself through CCNPR, and then it can be made available to the world. That is a caution we want to take right now. I have not reviewed everything. I have reviewed quite a bit of it, but when you raise that issue, I want to make certain that going forward, that you had the imprimatur of CCNPR to send it to those places that you are recommending.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Clegon, for that. And Michael Allen, you would be integral at this point in time, because I know that the electorate would at least need to be aware of what is taking place now, yes, so that they can be informed to make a decision for the poll that will be open tomorrow.
Surely, I did speak to Mr. Allen prior to my speaking just now, so, and he's well aware of that.
If I may, Mr.
So,
Moderator.
Okay, this is Mr. Daly. Please go ahead.
Just a clarification, Dr. Clegon. Are you then saying to the moderator that that we're not encouraging students currently to share it If it is that I know that I can share it within a group to get more students online to be part of this, we're saying that we shouldn't do that, just for clarification.
I am saying that I would imagine that you are using some device to record this. Am I correct? Is this being recorded at any level?
I believe so.
Right.
It is
So
being recorded, but it's also been sent out as a feed. And
It's
again,
live.
it's a live feed.
All right. So what I am saying, what becomes live because you have no control over it.
Okay.
May have to go as it is. But if you are going to capture the debate and then send it out as a complete package to wherever, that is what I think he would want to see before it goes out.
Okay. Okay.
Okay then.
All right.
Mr. Moderator, I had my hand up about something else though. So I don't want to mess with the flow, but given the length, I am asking Mr. Allen if it is that rather than 5 minutes for each candidate, we could look at 3 minutes just in the interest of time.
Mr. Allen? And Mr. Allen,
especially for the vice
director.
presidential, since they would have spoken already yesterday.
Yes, could you repeat that question? A suggestion.
Yes, Mr. Allen. We are wondering with the time constraint that we are now against for the vice presidential candidate, if we could reduce that time from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, given the amount of candidates we have to cover and the time constraints that's now against us, given the loss of a few minutes that we just experienced. And for those who are listening, Mr. Allen is the Director of Election, Policies and Constitution Affairs, United Student Movement 2019-2020 regime. Mr. Allen?
Okay, we will facilitate same. I'm sure our candidates will be able to adjust to the time accordingly and present their plans in a concise manner.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Allen. And so to our candidates, please take note of that. I know this may be a bit impromptu. We apologize for that. And so you will understand that even as you now function within the context of COVID-19 and going forward, where things will not be the same, you do understand that you need to be flexible. And this is not going to demonstrate your ability to do just that and to lead. So with that said, let us not waste any more time. Let us get directly into the debates. I'm going to call forward our vice presidential candidates to be ready, starting with the Office of Finance and Planning, Emmanuel Confessor and Nicole Scarlett. I'm going to ask to go first and present with 3 minutes on the timer already set. Mr. Emmanuel Confessor to present his plans and projections. Mr. Confessor?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Thank you very much. We are hearing you.
All right.
You may go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. It was Sir Eisenhower that said, the supreme quality for leadership is unquestionable integrity. Without it, no real success is possible. Listen, my opponent said something that is not true in yesterday's debate and has also quoted in her manifesto. She claimed to be quoting facts that are not included in the United Student Movement Constitution. And I quote, once elected as the Vice President of Finance and Planning, I would fulfill the mandate stated in the USM Constitution, Article 8, Section 3, and strive to work with NCU Students Finance to ensure that students are registered and cleared for exams within a prompt time frame. End of the quote. Friends, I want to make it absolutely clear that this is not listed under any article or section in the USM Constitution. We do not have such power. The job of the VP of Finance and Planning is not to clear you from exams, nor register. That is not my job or my decision to make, as we don't have that power to do that. The best that we can do is to assist you financially with the scholarships and grants that are available through USM. My opponent presented the Financial Leadership Day as if it is something new. Well, it is not. It is and always been tradition to have this Financial Literacy Day to teach the students the importance of budgeting, investing, and planning for the short-term and long-term goals. Friends, my opponent stated, and I quote, "I will liaison with professionals and firms from Jamaica's corporate society to create a networking environment for students."
1 minute.
By planning a student and executing a student work initiative for students to get a feel and better understanding of how they work and how the world manages their businesses. And of the quote, first, how different would this be from Career Day or Financial Literacy Day? Would it be the best interest of the students to allot the money you will spend towards hosting forums and seminars to scholarships and grants, given that most students coming back will be having a difficult time with all that is happening? Because to be honest, that already exists. What I'm saying is this: you need somebody who will represent you with the best of their ability. You need someone who cares. You need somebody with passion, who will try their best to make you comfortable. Both
Thank you.
Professor, time.
Confessor. Thank you very much, Ayana, for that notification. So you just heard from Vice Presidential Candidate for Finance and Planning, Emmanuel Confessor. We're now going to take Vice Presidential Candidate for the same portfolio, Finance and Planning, Nicole Scarlett. Nicole?
All protocols observed. Good afternoon. Tim Ron once said, "The challenge of leadership is to be strong, but not rude. Be kind, but not weak. Be bold, but not a bully. Be thoughtful, but not lazy. Be humble, but not timid. Be proud, but not arrogant. Have humor, but without folly." I am very pleased that my opponent was listening to my manifesto yesterday. However, he was not listening carefully. Let me repeat what it is that I said yesterday about my plans and projections. Once elected as the Vice President of Finance and Planning, I will fulfill the mandate stated in the United Student Movement Constitution, Article 8, Section 3, and strive to educate the student population on financial literacy and its importance, establish appropriate revenue recognitions, liaison with professionals or entities from our business society to create a networking environment, and work with student finance to ensure that students are registered and cleared for exam within a prompt time frame. My peers, NCU students, remember, when you go to vote tomorrow, vote integrity, vote accountability, vote standard. Nicole, for your vote for Vice President of Finance and Planning. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Nicole, for that. Appreciative. That was your Vice Presidential Candidate for Finance and Planning, Nicole Scarlett. So that would have completed now the Vice Presidential candidates vying for the portfolio, Finance and Planning. We're going to move things along so we can just finish the Vice Presidential debate and open up the question segment. So we're going to go to the segment now for the Vice Presidential candidates for Academic Administration. And we have two individuals here, Miss Marlene Campbell and Miss Naphthalise James. I'm going to ask Miss Campbell, that's Miss Marlene Campbell, to now present her plans and projections.
Students, judges, and friends, good afternoon. You know, one of the questions that I asked myself upon running for the office of academics is, what is the main purpose of attending university? And that purpose is academic success. My fellow students, Seventh-day Adventist or not, Jamaican or not, from each department, from psychology major to communication studies major, I, Marlene Campbell, am willing and ready, able to serve you, my fellow students. As a student of a Northern Caribbean university, a university that promotes holistic development, I believe that we as students should aim to be holistically in our development. I believe that we should develop ourselves holistically, spiritually, mentally, and in all areas, not only academically. Therefore, under my leadership, through my initiatives, through my plans, I will ensure that each student is developing academically, holistically, spiritually, mentally, and in all areas of life. As a psychology major, I will ensure that when it is around exam time, psychological tips will be out to students so that they can be able to cope with exam. Tips about study tips so that students can be better able to pass their exam and keep their mental health intact. I will ensure that through my leadership under the programs and initiatives, lead workshops, student improvement to student advisement, and lobbying to ensure that students are provided with the necessary tools, the necessary textbooks that they need at a reasonable cost so that they can pass their exam without having to pay a high cost. Students and friends, on April 8th, ensure that you vote for a leader with a vision. Vote Marlene Campbell for advocacy, for upliftment, for infinite possibilities that will be provided through lead workshops. I will ensure that these workshops cater to you students of every department so that you can develop your personal brand and market yourself when you go out there in the working world. On April 8th, vote Marlene Campbell for infinite possibilities. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Marlene, for that. And that was your vice presidential candidate for academic administration, Marlene Campbell. Now we're going to take a break at this point in time, just so that we can work out things a little bit better, so those who are listening and viewing can be better facilitated. So just give us a minute as we move into this break. After the break, we're going to move straight into Naphthalise James, vice presidential candidate for academic administration.
Tell me about your hedge fund in the simplest way possible.
Money for you, money for me, money for all of me.
That was made possible by the Rural Refuse campaign.
The first question. I consider myself to be somebody who is passionate, who is full of life and vigor, who loves people, and whose ultimate goal, or put differently, one of my life goals or mission is simply to inspire people to be the best version of themselves.
As a resident of the dorm, are you aware of what we are going through on the dorm?
Cedar Hall needs development. Leela needs development. And Jamaica Hall needs a whole heap of development. That is where we are going to start.
That was made possible by the Rural Refuse campaign.
Hello, family. This is Rennie Hudson, host of the devotional podcast, Look at God. What are you doing at 6 Eastern Standard Time in the morning? Join me for about 5 minutes as we look into God's words. Remember, you need something to get you through your day. Not from me, not from your friends, or from anyone around you, but you need it from God. So join me as we look into God's words. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Bugsprout, SoundCloud, wherever you go. Just type Look at God. Or if you're interested in being a part of one of our episodes, just email us at lookatgodpod@gmail.com. Remember, as you go through today, do not look at your friends or anyone around you. Look at God.
Hi there! If I can sit with you in your living room or at your kitchen table, here's what I would say. My name is Emmanuel Confessor Romando. Listen, when I researched the financial atmosphere of Northern Caribbean University, I realized that it takes strong leaders with backbone and passion to run this thing. Mira que lo que. Or let me tell you something. This position will not only take someone who knows how to analyze financial statements, because to be honest, anybody can do that with training, but most importantly, someone who is modern in their thinking, strategic and practical enough to ensure that the majority of your funds is given back to you, our prime stakeholders. But how? Well, by scholarships, personal assistance, whether in tuition assistance, meal or book voucher, and rewards for your continued hard work towards the development of NCU. This is why I, Emmanuel Confessor, answer the call to become your next Vice President of Finance and Planning of the United Student Movement to ensure that you are financially comfortable. Here are my 3 main projections. Number 1, transparency. It is your money and you deserve to know how it is spent. Therefore, my sector will provide you with monthly reported financial statements explaining how your funds are being allocated. Number 2, more scholarships and financial assistance. Through research and personal observations based on the current circumstances with the COVID-19 outbreak, I know for a fact that there would be a surplus amount of money that would be profitable to you by the way of personal subsidies and assistance with any personal need or challenge you may face. Hey, you know what? I know that currently you get $400 per meal voucher. However, I can anticipate an increase of 100, which will give you a total of 500 to ensure that you can purchase more. Number 3, distribution of DEP, Daily Essential Package. This was created because I have observed the challenges that students are facing while being on campus, such as the need of personal items, and this is my way of assisting to mitigate the stress. Friends, God's willing and with my effort, we will take care of the resources that were entrusted to plan, administer, and allocate your funds. You are in good hands. Just believe, I, Confessor, can. Thank you for listening.
This is Cedar Hall, home to the Noble Knights. As dorm residents, I know that you have faced and that you are facing challenges. And that is why you need a leader who will listen, a leader who is on a mission.
My name is Sinokia Hibbert, presidential candidate for the year 2020-2021 with the United Student Movement. On election day, vote for a new leader with a new vision, going in a new direction. Vote Sinokia Hibbert.
All right, thank you very much. I'm so happy that you could rejoin us for the Virtual United Student Movement Vice Presidential and Presidential Debates 2020. Before the break, you would have heard from the Vice President candidate for Academic Administration, Marlene Campbell. And now we're going to go straight into taking the Vice Presidential candidate for Academic Administration, Naphthalise James. After Naphthalise James, we will have finished the vice presidential candidates and we move directly into question and answering. Ms. James?
All protocols observed. Good afternoon, all. My name is Naphthalise James, and I am a third-year criminal justice major vying for the position of VP of Academic Administration for the 2020-2021 academic year. My main objective this afternoon is to highlight two of my major plans and projections. One, the academic committee. This committee will ensure that all plans and projections for the upcoming academic year will be successful. Comprising of this committee will be a VP of academics from each academic club and other nominated members, as having a larger team to work with will ensure that no one person is overworked, and to ensure that the best is pulled out of each academic program. Two, the amendment to the United Student Movement tutoring program. As you all know, this program is geared towards improving the academic performance of students who are struggling in the classroom. Even though this program is free of charge, persons still do not use the service as expected. The amendment I am suggesting would to provide online forums. These sessions will be cost and time efficient. That is, cost for travel will be decreased, and tutors who are not readily available to come on site to conduct these sessions will do so online. I intend on being the voice the students need. I intend to rebuild students' interest in wanting to improve academically. I am running for this office to bridge the gap between students and admin. I will be your mouthpiece. Today, I implore you, my colleagues, to vote for someone who has experienced the system, someone who has been here long enough to have experienced your pain, and one who has cried your cries. On April 8th, a vote for Naphthalise will be a vote for advocacy. A vote for Naphthalise will be a vote for change. A vote for Naphthalise will be a vote trusting it to someone who is experienced. A vote for Naphthalise will be a vote for someone who cares. So on April 8th, when you click that link and you are on that voting page, vote Naphthalise James, as there is an assurance that with Naphthalise, you feel at ease, as I don't just speak the change, I am the change. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. James. So you'd have now heard from the vice presidential candidates for academic administration, Ms. Marlene Campbell, who spoke first, and then lastly, Ms. Naphthalise James. You'll have also heard from the vice presidential candidates for finance and planning, Mr. Emmanuel Confessor and Ms. Nicole Scarlett. What we're going to do now is open the floor for our judges and the listening and viewing audience to pose questions to our candidates. We will start from the judges, beginning with Miss Noreen Daly. Miss Daly. All right. It seems like I am not making connection with Miss Daly.
No,
so
that was my fault.
Okay, then.
You're hearing me now. Okay.
Yes, I am.
No, this is the same question that's going to be for all the vice presidential candidates. There's a high level of apathy on the campus. What is it that they plan to do about that?
All right. The candidates can indicate a response. This is the question for all the candidates. I gather, Ms. Daly.
Excuse me, the question was not clear.
All right, let me rephrase that. There are lots of students who they only come to school, they're involved in their academics, they care about nothing else. What is it that you're going to do to encourage students to get more involved in student life? And that question goes for all the candidates. Same question.
Same question for all the candidates. Thank you very much, Ms. Daly. Can we have the candidates respond to that, please, in a timely manner? Ms. James, since you spoke and you're online, would you be able to start with that? And we go down the line, Ms. Campbell, followed by Ms. Scarlett, and then Mr. Confessor. Ms. Campbell, are you ready?
Okay, so what would I do to ensure that students are more involved in their school life? As it relates to my manifesto, I stated that lead workshops, I will ensure that students are given the necessary skills they need to become more holistically. I will ensure that I go to the students to encourage them that academic is important, but ensuring that they participate in activities on campus is also important, as it is important to help in their development as an individual.
Thank you very much for that, Ms. Campbell. Ms. James? All right, well, Ms. James. Ms. Scarlett?
Okay, thank you for that question, Ms.
All right, come and take
Daly.
Ms. James. We're going to take Ms. Scarlett.
Okay.
So in order to have students become more engaged and interested in the activities that the school put on and USM put on, firstly, USM will have to work closely with all member organizations, not saying that they're not right now. However, knowing that students look more to USM than they do the various clubs, we'd have to work with the member organization by going to their general meetings, the different initiatives that they plan, so that students will realize and see that, okay, more interest need to be put in for them to understand and to enjoy themselves with each initiative that have been planned. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that response. Just to say to our vice presidential candidate, you're actually on the floor now fielding questions. So could I ask you to keep your videos open so that we can have that interaction going on? Because this question is for all of you, and therefore you should all be at least facing us so that we can see who we are dealing with. All right, with that said, Ms. James.
Okay, thank
followed
you.
by Mr. Confessor.
We have 11 academic clubs on campus. Therefore, we can partner with all the PROs from each, as well as the USM execs, as teamwork makes the dream work. I also mentioned in my manifesto that I will have 10-minute impromptu debate sessions, essay writing competitions, and Let's Talk, where students can come to me and voice their opinions. More promotion can be done as well to foster students wanting to participate. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that. Mr. Confessor, your response to the same question?
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, I would suggest promotions of what USM is. I believe by my research that if we promote events of USM students will turn to those events and come in and support. Also by meet and greet. I believe if you want to get people, you have to interact with them. So therefore, by interaction with the students doing pop-up sections, I believe the students will respond when we ask for the support for the student population. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Confessor. All right, and thank you very much for your question, Ms. Daly. I'll just also ask Ms. Daly if you could take your hand down so that I do not confuse your response. Appreciated. All right, do we have another question from the panel?
Yes.
All right, so Mr. Grant.
Excuse me, Chairman.
Yes, Dr. Clegon.
I have a class at 3:30, but I need to get into the room by 3 o'clock. If you would, a question of privilege, have me to ask my questions or my question as best, and I would appreciate that.
Yes, thank you very much for notifying us of that, Dr. Clegon. And I know Mr. Grant would also yield to that request. So we're going to take Dr. Clegon and his question so that we can facilitate him and he can also be able to move on to the class that he has. Dr. Clegon?
Yes, I appreciate that, Chairman. There's one generic question that I'll ask, and then I'll ask one question of the Vice Presidents for Finance and Planning. The first one is, this is a Seventh-day Adventist Christian institution. How would you, in a few sentences, explain the philosophy of Seventh-day Adventist Christian education? Because if you are coming into student leadership, it's important that you understand what is the philosophy of this institution. What do we share? Can you, in short order, just say, what is your understanding of the philosophy of Seventh-day Adventist Christian education?
All right. Thank you for that question. Can I see an indication from the candidates that you would have heard that question? That could be by a raise of hand.
Yeah.
At the same time, Dr. Clegon, I'm just going to ask you just to ensure that your microphone is clear. Hello? Confessor, did you hear that question?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're coming across clearly. So we're going to take Confessor and we'll go down the line to Miss Scarlett, then to Miss Campbell, then to Miss James.
I believe that the philosophy of Adventist education is to impact their students or workers in the area of the sector of mental, heart, physically, emotionally, and prepare them so when Christ comes, they'll also be ready to go with us to celestial mansions. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Confessor. Miss Scarlett?
Hi, thank you for the question, Dr. Cleghorn. So the Adventist philosophy is really about holistic lifestyle, not just the physical, the mental, but the spiritual also. So what I would say to students is to understand that the Adventist philosophy is really preparing you not just for this life, but the life to come. So you should understand that we do meticulously read the Bible and try to go according to God's words. And if it is that they need more clarification on that, then I would have to give it to them so that they can understand where it is that we come from when it is that we plan different initiatives that are Christ-centered. Thank you.
All right, Miss James?
Okay, so as I mentioned in previous debates or previously, I am a Seventh-day Adventist, so I hold all Seventh-day Adventist beliefs dearly or in their core, right? I believe that Christian education is paramount, and as such, I will try to encourage my fellow schoolmates to read the Bible more, I'll do that through encouraging them to read the Bible more. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Campbell.
Okay, so the philosophy of Seventh-day Adventist Christian education is to uphold integrity in classrooms and in our schoolwork and exam. Additionally, it promotes holistic development academically, spiritually, most of all, with God being the center of everything that we do, mentally and physically. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Campbell. Dr. Clegon, could you turn your video on and you can communicate to us if you have another question, or that would be it.
It is, I'm getting a notation that that I cannot start my video because the host has stopped it. I don't know what that means.
Okay, well, okay, so that can be fixed on our end. So whilst we take care of that.
Sure.
In the meantime, do you have another question, Dr. Clegon,
Yes,
before you go?
The last question, the question I have now is for the Vice President for Finance and Planning. In an institution such as we have it here at NCU, it is critical that the VP for Finance and Planning develops a positive and a productive relationship with the Vice President for Finance and Industries, and in this case, also for facilities. What is the plan of these two candidates to establish that relationship so that when representation needs to be made on behalf of the students, they would have cleared the relationship level with the Vice President already?
All right, thank you very much for that question, Dr. Clegon. I'm going to ask you to turn on your video now, and I'm going to ask the two candidates, Mr. Emmanuel Confessor and Ms. Nicole Scarlett, to respond to that question, while it is that Dr. Clegon attempts to turn on his video. Ms. Scarlett, Mr. Confessor.
Thank you for the question, Dr. Cleghorn. So my intention, okay, my intention is to not wait on financial committee meetings, but to have different monthly meetings with the director of finance so that I can have a one-on-one relationship with him, so that he can not only wait on the meetings to understand the issues that are plaguing our student population, but when it is that we have our one-on-one relationship and our conversation, he will understand, so that when it is that he goes into the meeting, he is not bombarded with some of the issues, but that issues that will come up are new to him or they're few in number. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Ms. Scarlett. Mr. Confessor, your response.
Yes, thank you for your question, Mr. Cleghorn. I would introduce myself respectfully. I understand people are busy and I have to respect their time. Also, I will create a formal relationship with the entire finance department, not only with the head, but everybody, every single person, every single member in the finance sector. And also, of course, I will look forward to collaborate with them in any project or event that is need to be done. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much for that, Confessor. And thank you very much, Dr. Clegon, for the question you have asked. And we do appreciate you stopping by. We know you have something to do now as it relates to another class.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And I wish all of you all the success that you're seeking. And as I had outlined earlier on, any major issuance of this from the USM angle, you are being required to have it vetted by CCNPR before it goes out.
Noted well.
Thank you so much,
thank you
everybody.
for that clarification.
God bless you.
All right, take care.
Yes, sir.
All right, we now respectfully turn to Mr. Kevon Grant, who had a question before Dr. Clegon. Kevon, are you still there? We'll take your question now
Yes,
as we
thanks, Mr.
press along with time.
Thanks, Mr. Nevings. I have a question for each candidate, but I'd like you to guide me because I wouldn't want us to spend more time than we need to. But I'll begin first with this question to Marlene. So you...
Just a clarification, Mr. Grant. So this question to Marlene, will it be a part of the question for all the candidates?
No, this question is specifically for Marlene.
All right. Given the time constraint that you spoke about, would you want to go with the one for all the candidates, or so the decision
No,
is yours?
I don't have a general one. I don't have a general
all right,
one.
Okay. I now
All right.
understand. So Marlene, could we see you on the camera? Your question is coming to you now. And might I just add that all the vice presidential candidates, could we see you on camera, please, so that we can know who we are talking to and you can field the questions. Go ahead, Kevon.
All right, so Marlene, you would have indicated that you intend to advocate for the nurses to figure out what their concerns are. But for decades, I might say, this promise has been made to these nurses. Why should nurses, after so many years, continue to vote for someone who plans to listen to their concern? Especially when by now there should be something that the USM could do to address some of those concerns expressed over the years.
Okay, thank you for the question. So I stated in my manifesto that I will be creating a committee. I did not highlight a specific issue to address based on the nursing students. I highlighted that I would create a committee to look into the issues that these students are facing to see what can be improved on and what can be solved. What could you also repeat the question again, please?
Right. So my question is, that has been done for years now. Why should they vote for someone who promises to continue to do that as opposed to now do something about the issues?
Okay, I will not only listen to them, but in fact, advocate on their behalf and ensure that I'm speaking on their behalf to ensure that I can, in fact, help to create change for them. Thank you.
All right, so that's the time that we have right here. Thank you for that response. Mr. Grant, person along.
All right, so Naftalis, you indicated that you plan to establish a academic committee. Knowing that the Academic Council is already an established committee of the USM, and that previous regimes have tried to limit the overlapping of roles. For example, social club members are members of colleges, which means that the VP of academics for an academic club presides over their academic issues. But your intention is to make the academic committee broader and bigger. Could you explain to me why this would be necessary, increasing those overlaps?
As I continue to say, thank you for your question, by the way. As I continue to say, teamwork makes the dream work, right? So it's not a matter of overlapping, it's a matter of adding more persons. So not just VPs, I'll add students from the general population as well. So on meeting with the different VPs of each club, I will ask them to give suggestions or appoint some persons who they think can be a part of said committee. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that, Ms. James. Mr. Grant, I'm going to ask you to condense the questions and ask the next two candidates your question real quickly. So let's keep the questions short and to the point. Let's go.
Sure. Mr. Confessor, what is your position on the idea that USM should hold money independent of the trust fund set up at the university?
Can you repeat the question, sir, please?
What is your position on the USM holding money independent of the trust fund setup at the university?
Thank you for that question, sir. I do not agree. If it is a donation, open arms. But if it is part of the university, it is part of the university, and it's to be used for the students. I don't know if that answers your question, sir.
I was specifically going to the idea of having an account that is not managed by the university. So should the USM have such an account?
We'll only have about 15 seconds for that response.
USM is part of the university, so I would not agree to do that.
All right. Thank you very much, Confessor.
And finally, Nicole, USM is a non-profit organization funded by fees that students pay at registration. What is the philosophy driving your endeavor to generate revenue through your office?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Grant. The philosophy that is guided with my idea is that I will be making revenue from the different sectors within USM. So for instance, the sports sector by selling jersey or the wristband that we do annually, or annual culture vibes that comes under the Vice President of Social Affairs. And these things, even the projects and special initiative, their sector also. So things that are being carried out, snacks that are sold at these events, they can be sold at a marked up price. So that is how I go about generating revenue for USM. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that and your response. Now, I must point out that with the time that we have remaining, we now need to move into the next segment, but we have one judge who has not asked a question as yet, and we will make preference in the presidential debate for Mrs. Janelle Hill Nelson to go first with the questions within that portfolio. And I'm sure that she will be able to accommodate that at this point in time. So I'm going to liaise with my team here, Mr. Nikhil Allen, and also Rondine Williams, to give me some direction as to how you'd like us to proceed now, move directly into the presidential debate. And if so, I'll just offer at this point, congratulations and thanks to the vice presidents for giving us their responses, for fielding the questions, and also for sharing with us, the listening and viewing audience, what is on their manifestos and plans. So Mr. Allen and Ms. Williams. I know I've been looking to see if I see any questions coming in just before you come, Mr. Allen, from our listening and viewing audience, the electorate. I have not seen those questions as yet. Please just let me know if you have a question that you want to ask any of the candidates, send them in and we will be able to ask them for you. Mr. Allen, you were saying something.
Okay, we will proceed, sir, with venturing into the presidential section.
All right, so I'm going to take the cue to proceed to enter into the presidential section. What we will do, and Ms. Williams can correct me, we'll take a break to return. And once we return, we will head directly into the presidential debates. And I wait for that confirmation from Ms. Williams so we can proceed with that. We just want to ensure that we have a smooth flow and no interruption. Okay, the confirmation is given. So at this point, we'll take a break. Stay tuned. We're coming next with the dynamic presidential debates. I hope you're excited. I am excited. Thanks very much to those who have presented so far. They did a wonderful job. And see you on the next side. So see you in a few seconds.
is Cedar Hall, home to the Noble Knights. As dorm residents, I know that you have faced and that you are facing challenges. And that is why you need a leader who will listen, a leader who is on a mission. My name is Sinokia Hibbert, presidential candidate for the year 2020-2021 with the United Student Movement. On election day, vote for a new leader with a new vision, going in a new direction. Vote Sinokia Hibbert.
That was made possible by the Rural Refuse campaign.
Hi, I am Christy Mackenzie. A few semesters ago, I made my final walk from the finance office. It was my last chance to fit the bill for a payment option for my tuition, but I just could not find the money. I worked on campus. I got a job in Mandeville town, but it just would not cut it. I lost hope, and I was hurt. My dream of getting a degree left me. But recently, I was refueled with hope. I was introduced to a wind of change. I am learning how to make money and invest. Don't get left behind. Vote for change. Rural Refuels.
That was made possible by the Rural Refuse campaign.
Well, me have class parabens to all, and for talk truth, sometimes I can't even get oxygen to all the place stink. You don't know about it?
I'm very aware. As a matter of fact, being at NCU, most of my classes are at Robinson Hall. And let me tell you something. This place needs proper sanitation. And if it is that it has to come out of my budget as your United Student Movement president, at least Dettol, at least Lysol, at least proper garbage bags for garbage disposal. They must be bought. A difference must be made. Change must be seen now.
That was made possible by the Rural Refuse campaign.
Hi, we're at the highest end School of Nursing, home to some of Jamaica's finest and most prestigious nurses. But for those of you who are still along the journey and you're faced with a plethora of challenges, help is here. My name is Sinokia Hibbert, presidential candidate for the year 2020-2021. In light of the COVID-19 crisis, the world over has become more aware of the importance of the profession of nursing. You are the real life superheroes of today, not just tomorrow. And under my administration, we are pledging to do everything that we can to help you become the movers and the shakers and the trendsetters of tomorrow. So on April 8th, Election Day, vote for a new leader with a new vision, going in a new direction. Vote Sinokia Hibbert. Remember, we are taking USM on the ride.
Welcome back to our listeners and viewers to the unprecedented United Student Movement Virtual Presidential and Vice Presidential Debates 2020. We are on day 2, and we would have concluded the Vice Presidential debates previously. Now we're moving into the presidential debates, and we have 2 candidates. The first candidate is Ms. Sinokia Hibbert, and the second candidate is Mr. Ruel Hay. Just want to remind these candidates that we are running very tight on time. And so within 6 minutes, that is within 6 minutes, we're going to ask you to present your plans and manifestos to the electorate and your listening and viewing audience. After which we will have the question and answer segment. So without wasting any more time, I'm going to ask our first candidate, Ms. Sinokia Hibbert, to present to us. Ms. Hibbert?
Thank you, Mr. Nevins.
You're welcome.
The struggle is real. It's not just a catchy phrase, it's a statement that as Northern Caribbean University students, we epitomize and we experience. And that is why you need real solutions to real problems. And that is why as your president, I will be real with you. And I want you to be real with me as well. I understand that I will only have a few months in office to execute the plans and projections that I have, to inspire the team to execute the plans and projections that they have, and to make a tangible difference in your life as students. But believe me when I say that I will work as best and as hardest as I possibly can. I will pray as earnestly and fervently as I possibly can to make sure that the USM regime under my administration will be one that will be known for the hard work and the dedication to the cause of students, to your development, and to the enhancement of your tenure here at Northern Caribbean University. So presidents, vice presidents, judges, my people, good afternoon. So yesterday I presented on some of my plans, and today I hope to do so again with the time constraint in mind. So I have divided my manifesto into 2 parts: presidential initiatives, which I spoke on yesterday, and executive functions. I'll be focusing more on that today. So there are 5 pillars that are listed within the Constitution upon which every president should stand, and these I have abbreviated as PEICA or PICA, which stands for promoting students' interests, encouraging student advocacy and development, improving study and living conditions, creating work or job opportunities, and advancing religious and social affairs. Now, in writing my manifesto, I had to bear in mind that every other member of the USM will have plans and projections for some of these areas. So I had to come up with events and projections that will be different, but as impactful, and that will not take away from the plans and projections of members. So these are the projections that I have under the executive functions under the listing of PEIC or PICA. Want to facilitate a live online chat every month, which will function as a virtual town hall meeting with the student body and a different sector of the USM, where student queries can be aired and tabled for action. To create a place for student entrepreneurs on campus and to encourage entrepreneurial research. It's not enough for a USM to simply just give you handout. I want to empower you and to teach you how you can fish for yourself and also teach others to do that. To digitize and advance a student housing list. Personally, I have moved during the semester, at the end of the semester, many times since my tenure here, and I know that students do that. And there's currently a list at the Student Services Office that you has a listing of housing and the cost available, but you have to actually go to the office to get access to this. So I'm saying, let us put it online so that if you're in Westmoreland, if you're in Kingston, it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter what time of the semester, it doesn't matter what time of day, you can have access to this so that the transition and the move can be a lot easier. We also have I also have under my manifesto partnering with businesses and organizations to coordinate external and part-time, external, part-time and full-time work opportunities. I spoke some yesterday on this. the final three things that I would like to speak about. One is about making NCU the place to look forward to at least once per semester through a major Bible-based sight and sound theatrical production event, something like Uhuru, that is student created and student benefited. NCU has great singers, but we also have talented actors and artists and videographers and poets and designers, writers and musicians. And I'm saying, let's work together to highlight these talents and to make some money while at it so that students can be impacted by this. And I believe that NCU students are some of the most intellectual and intelligent anywhere across Jamaica, across the region, and in the world. And if we're going to train people to be movers and shakers of not just today, but tomorrow, I think that we need to make NCU the place where it is at in terms of theological discussions, political discussions with a biblical outlook, whether it's mental health, sexuality, evolution versus creation, to establish and intensify the activity of clubs on campus, like the Apologetics Research Club and the Literary and Debating Society. And my final point is to execute the USM Leadership Training Program that is written in the Constitution to encourage continuity and to train student leaders. So on April 8th, vote for a leader who has walked mile in your own shoes. Vote for a leader who can relate to you and who has been working on your behalf, who has a new vision of a united, spirited, led, and passionate USM working for its people. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Burton. Thank you for staying within the time frame. We're now going to go directly to Mr. Hay. Mr. Ruel Hay, you have 6 minutes on the clock.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everybody. A student sent me a message just today, and it said, "You do not seem like an emotional person." I responded, "Why?" And she said, "Because you're always talking logically, and it doesn't seem like you have thoughts for emotions within you." Well, here is my reality. I am very emotional. As a matter of fact, my thinking process always starts emotionally, but it doesn't stop there. It ends with logic. Now, not the what, but the how. What makes a great leader is his ability to connect emotionally and logically with those he is leading. Failure to do both will result in impartiality and his ability to lead all his constituency. Permit me for a few minutes to speak to you in two contexts, an emotional context and a logical context. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Ruel Hay, and I'm your next United Student Movement president. I intend to inspire a generation of change makers that will not only address life emotionally and logically. Other people will tell you that they came to NC with a dream and $15,000. Now, that is a good emotional story because some can relate. But what about those who did not come with a financial struggle of $15,000? What about those who came with money, but were given poor customer service at the finance office? Or those who came with hard-worked money from farmer mothers and fathers and domesticated parents? Or any other profession that has been mistreated by teachers? What about those who came from their house with a clean bathroom and have been subjected to the dirty Robinson Hall bathroom of no water and proper sanitation? Can you relate? If you can, type change. If you can't, tweet it. If you can't tweet it, find a group and voice note it. Friends, this is a story that all of us can relate to. This is an emotional story that hurts all of us. But here's the logic. Together, we can solve our emotional challenges. I want to start by saying that the next Ruel Hay-led USM regime will be the most visible and vocal in the history of the United Student Movement. That is change. Every student at NCU deserves proper and adequate representation. For too long, we have been sitting around quietly and issues are being shoved under the rug and disregarded. Well, guess what? It's time to grab a vacuum. Why do we have an administration
that provides little to no transparency? Why is it that big communication gaps are between the administration and the students? We can't live at that NCU and say that NCU truly cares. We need a change. And no, I'm not in any way indicating any rebellion against the administration, but it's time for the administration to be held accountable. For this regime, it will never be said, and anything won't be said on the matter of us being quiet. Much credit, though, needs to be given to the current regime for the work that they have done. But if no one knows, then it can be said that nothing was done. Here's a change we all can believe in. Every meeting, every conversation, every call that is made, an update will be given to the students. While I sit in meetings, I will update the students of the concerns that I'm hearing in the meetings. I want to publicly affirm the current regime for the creation of an open platform for students to voice their concerns through the Speak Out WhatsApp group. Leadership says that we must update and modify to meet the needs of all students. Your voices must never be hushed nor muzzled. Change is here for that. Additionally, the seat of the scornful and the cafeteria have been proven to be hotspots for the students gathering. You should agree with me that USM office is too far for students to walk down there to share their concerns. So we, the USM, are coming right to you. Town hall meetings, press conferences, news releases, and an official USM WhatsApp business account. We will keep you informed and we will serve you in innovative ways. Change is coming and to how we need to engage and communicate. Now, here are 3 logical nuggets that I want to consider as I wrap up. Money for you, money for me, money for all of it. That's the hedge fund. Your voice is your right. That is student advocacy. Together, we build collaboration and cooperation from all major stakeholders. As the Bible says, there's nothing new under the sun, and all of your challenges, in some way, I can relate to them as your leader. The fact is, there's nothing new that speaks volume, but the direction that I am taking to produce multiple possible projections to your solutions, some of which would have been shared in my manifesto. Some of these solutions simply wait for you to share your problems. This, friends, is a proactive approach that is needed for us to move from a point to a better place. And this is how we will mix emotions with logic and raise the bar higher for the student government. If you know a Sharvon Clark, he did well. If you know a Wayne Woolry, he did better. Cynthia Gardner, she did better. Oneka Nevins, he did better. Kavian Allen, he did better.
Time. All right, thank you very much for that, Mr. Hay. All right, we are out of the main aspect of time. What I'm going to do right now is just point out to our judges that we are using 12 minutes. We have 6 minutes of question and answer from the judging panel, and then we'll use 6 minutes for the students who are sending in their questions through social media. I'm going to give Mrs. Janelle Hay Nelson the first opportunity to ask a question to our presidential candidates. And then, Ms. Daly, I see your hand. I will take your question next. So, Mrs. Nelson, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Are you hearing me clearly?
Yes, we're hearing you very clearly.
Okay. Good afternoon, candidates. My first question is being directed to Ms. Sinokia Hibbert. The question that I'm about to ask you is in regard to the plan that you have in regards to partnering with businesses. I would like to know what this actually looks like. What are you doing now to do this partnering with businesses? How will the businesses themselves benefit? Since, of course, they will want benefits. And how will you actually get students to be enthused about something like this, given the general apathy at school now? So just a flesh out of what exactly this whole partnering with businesses looks like for everyone involved.
Thank you, Mrs. Hay Nelson. I have already reached out to 3 business establishments within the Mandeville region to answer one part of your question. And to answer the other part is not just businesses, but also schools and other organizations. It's about seeking employment for students. We have work and study, we have work and travel, but we need other means. We need to find other means to help students to pay for their tuition. And that is what I am proposing. I'm asking the business owners and members to give a commitment to seeking to hire or to take on more NCU students. And there was another part of your question, to take on more NCU students. And what is the value that we will add? NCU students and graduates are known all over the country and all over the world as being diligent and hard workers. And there is no organization that would not want diligent and hard workers.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Ms. Hibbert. Ms. Nelson.
Okay,
Nelson,
so my
back over
next
to you. Do you have another question?
My next question is for Mr. Hay. Good afternoon, Mr. Hay. My question to you is in regard
Just
to
before you ask the question, Mrs. Nelson, just before you ask the question, hello? Yes,
Yes,
Mrs.
I'm hearing
Nelson. Mr. Hay, we just need to ensure that he's still here with us. Mr. Hay, could you come on video so that we can see you for the question you're being asked? Okay, so he's here. Go ahead now, Mrs. Nelson.
Yes, this question is in regard to the first item that I noted on your manifesto, which was in relation to the Money for Everyone project that you were talking about just a while ago. Yes. It speaks to the fact that revenues earned or profits earned will go towards different aspects. Well, 10% of that profit will go to different aspects, and 2.5 I see earmarked for infrastructural development, which is stated that it will be starting with the School of Religion and Theology floor. Why do you think it's necessary to start there? Why not start with an avenue of the school that is beneficial to every student?
I believe the religion and theology floor is most beneficial to students because there is no student that doesn't have a religion course. So that is one of the main reasons why I'm starting there. The other reason is that that is the stinkiest place on campus. Anybody can tell you. And you would have been a student and experienced the same.
All right, thank you very much. That was the response given. All right, I got that notification. Thank you very much, Mrs. Hay, for your response right there. I'm going to ask Mrs. Daly. Ms. Daly, I'm going to acknowledge your hand at this point in time to bring forward your question. Ms. Daly.
Thank you so much. It's a question.
And even as we do that.
Yes, sir.
Yes, even as we do that, I'm going to ask the question be precise, and I'm going to ask the candidates to be precise with the responses and be very selective with your choice of words. Thank you very much, Ms. Daly. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Now, this is a question for both candidates. Now, traditionally, most USM presidents are people who have been club presidents, very active at the club level, and then they go on to the other level, which is USM president. Now, my understanding is that I'm yet to hear of what either one of you would have done at the club level. So why then, if I was a student, would I want to vote for you?
All right, so let us go directly now with that response. Who would like to go first?
I can go first.
Go ahead, Ms. Hibbert.
I have not represented at the presidential level, but I have represented at the secretarial and at the public relations officer level within the West Jamaica Conference Club within the Spirit of Prophecy. And I've also been the coordinator for one semester for the Upper Room ministry. And not only have I done work here locally, but when I went to Brandon University, I was also a member of the Residence Council where I executed a culture fusion event that even still today is talked about.
All right, thank you very much. To the point. Mr. Hay.
Thank you very much for your question. I would have served the Ministerial Association. Furthermore, I would have served the University Church, of which I'm currently an elder. Furthermore, I would have started at least 4 companies, serve as CEO, working with budgets that triple or quadruple the USM budget. I believe from that platform, I am competent for the job.
All right, thank you very much to the candidates. And Ms. Daly, I realize that by my time, I may just be able to take one more question, and so I'm going to give that to Mr. Grant, if that is okay with you. Mr. Grant, really
Not
quickly.
really, but
Not
I have
really.
no choice.
All right.
Yes.
Oh, okay, we can talk about that after the debates. Mr. Grant?
All right, quickly. This question is for Ruel specifically. So you spoke about this hedge fund idea, investing. When one person invests, that's one thing. When an organization does it, it's a different thing. Explain to us, how will USM get funds for the undertaking? How will the funds be monitored and accessed during and across regimes? And how is this idea not bordering on circumventing the Financial Services Act of Jamaica?
Thank you very much for your question. The funds that are coming in has nothing to do with the USM regime, nor will they be governed by the USM regime. All was clearly stated in the documents presented. These funds will be coming from 3 options that I have. Either an FTMO company that is located in England, personal electronic fund access account, or my sponsors, which are in the form of my broker and my teachers. Please re-ask the second question.
So the question was, how will it be monitored and accessed by the regimes? And how is it not going against the Financial Services Act?
No, it's not going against the Financial Services Act of Jamaica. We would have cleared that document, and that is why the administration would have accepted that such is feasible. Where transparency is concerned or regulation through the regime, we have accountants in place who will be able to write and share the information as we disperse it through our public relations office from the United States.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you very much, Mr. Grant. Please allow me at this point in time to ask the candidates some questions coming in from social media. At the end of that, if we have some time, then I will try to facilitate your final question, Ms. Daly. So just keep that in mind even as we go along. And also the candidates to have in mind a question for each other. So here goes. Real quickly from social media, I want to ask each candidate. And this one goes to Mr. Hay. So we'd appreciate it if you'd come back on screen. Mr. Hay, the first one is to you. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Hay. The question says that you plan to change the constitution to make it a requirement that only an ordained elder can be admitted to the office of Vice President of Spiritual Affairs. Are you saying that only ordained elders can be used by God to fulfill the roles and responsibilities for that office? And why is ordination the sole criteria used for this major change in the constitution?
Okay, thank you for that question. That question would have been asked from yesterday and answered, but let us answer it again. Now, where it pertains to ordained elder, that is not a sole requirement when one is initiated into office. That will be done through the church, right? So it's an adjoining mission to uplift spirituality on campus. Furthermore, for any spiritual director to be effective, they must know where the roots of spirituality come from. And it's through correlational work with the church, right? For the VP of Spiritual Affairs to be effective, they must be able to have some position of leadership to which they can garner the true growth that students need where spirituality is concerned while working with the church.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Ms. Hibbert, the next question is yours, coming from social media. And it reads, how will you seek to bridge the gap between social events and spiritual events on campus so that everyone will be happy at the end of the day?
Thank you for that question, Mr. Nevins. Firstly, I think that it's important for us to remember that as an institution, we have an ethos and we have to operate within the ethos of our university. I can say I enjoy the performing arts. I enjoy poetry, sing dub poetry, acting. Those things can help to make a difference on campus, put apart from the singing and the social. It brings something new, a new vibe, a new energy. But we have to operate within the ethos of the university, which is founded on the Bible and the principles of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
All right. Thank you very much for that response. Now, this question is actually to both candidates, so both could respond. So I'm going to ask Mr. Heath to just come back on screen for this question, please. And if you could just remain on screen while it is that we are going through the question and answer. All right, so question to both. What is one initiative from this regime, and I am assuming it means the current regime, that you would seek to roll over or modify? Mr. Hay, would you like to go first? And then we'll take Ms. Hibbert.
I'll repeat that question for me.
The question is, what is one initiative from the current regime that you would seek to roll over or modify?
I would like to modify the tutoring program, which is there in my manifesto, to connect it to Udemy instead of having somebody being there to teach it as a student, which in the long run incurs more expenses for the regime, and it's not proven most viable. Also, where entrepreneurship is concerned, that is presented in the hedge fund plan, where we'll have funds coming in, profits, of course, to help with the different things listed.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Hibbert?
Okay. I am not exactly sure if it is a plan per se, but it is something that I see that is working. And I think for any regime going forward, it is absolutely important to adopt that. And it is the online presence that the current USM regime has. I think that they've been doing an excellent job. And for us to communicate and communicate well with our members, we have to keep that.
All right, good. And I have one last question here from the student population, but I will not go to that one. I'll leave that one for last. I'm going to come to Ms. Daly so that she can ask her question from before. So remember to leave some time for me, judges, please, so I can ask the final question from the electorate.
Okay, not a problem. Let me just make it a general question then, because I have individual questions. And this is the one about apathy. For both candidates, there is a serious I think for all the years I've been on this campus, I don't think it has ever been this bad, the level of disinterest and apathy with the student population. What are you going to do as the person in charge of leading the student population? What are you going to do to encourage a change?
Thank you very much. I'll say it in the words of Ellen White, Christ's methods alone will give true success in reaching the people. The Savior mingled with men as one who desired their goods. He showed sympathy for them, ministered to their needs, and won their confidence. Then he bade them, follow me.
Ms. Hibbert.
Thank you. I believe what needs to be revived on NCU campus is campus spirit. That is what we're lacking, and that is why we have student apathy. And in order to revive campus spirit, we have to reach people where they are. We have to be hands-on, we have to be practical, we have to be active, we have to be visible as a USM. And with our own, within the member organizations, we have to foster and create synergy. People will come on board with something if they see it going somewhere and if they see how it can benefit them. And that is what I am proposing for my government or for under my administration.
All right, thank you very much for that from both candidates. Now you have the opportunity to ask each other one question, just one question. I'm going to do this really quickly. You'll have to frame that question in 30 seconds and you'll respond in 30 seconds. So one question. Who would like to go first?
Well, aspects of this question was asked, but I do think that it needs more clarity.
So Mr. Hay, could you come back on screen for us, please, to field this question? Go ahead, Mr. Burt.
To change or to mandate within the Constitution that the person running for VP of Spiritual Affairs must be an ordained elder is actually a violation of the Constitution, Article 11, Section 2, subsection 1.1, where it says that anybody, regardless of age, gender, whatever it is, can run for president and vice president. And this will exclude women, most women.
Question, Mr. Burt. Remember, you have a limited time. Question, Mr. Burt.
Thank you. The question is
10 seconds remaining.
Yes. How is it that you're saying that you are for student if you're going to mandate something that is going to affect or eliminate 90% of the student population?
Now, the purpose of the plan is to have an engagement between the university church and the university through the United Student Movement. If you would have been there at the church, you will see that students are not supported as they should because they are not seeing this place as the hub for that spiritual development. Now, this plan is not a mandatory plan. This plan is a plan that shows any form of direction which can be taken. It is so that as the elder would have come in, they will see that there is some unity and they will be able to work from a development
Time. All right, thank you very much. Mr. Hay, you're still on the floor. So your question to Ms. Hibbert.
My question to Ms. Hibbert, you are unknown for the most part. Why would you just show up out of nowhere to run for president? What is your angle?
Thank you so much for that question, Mr. Hay. First of all, I am not unknown. I have been, as I mentioned earlier, the vice president, the PRO for the West Jamaica Conference Club, which has executed successfully many programs, including one speaking about gays and homosexuality. And also, I have been out with the recruitment team. Ask NJC, ask EJC, ask WJC. Persons would have known of my service and my dedication to the students on campus.
Thank you very much to our interlocutors for such stimulating discussions. And I realized that they were enjoying this last segment. It seems as if we need more of it. Thank you to our listeners and our viewers for tuning in. We're going to take one final break, and I promise you that when we return, it will be the final break. We're going to put the icing on the cake here. I'm going to field one last question to the candidates. You're going to want to hear this one. Trust me. Allow us to take this break and return. Don't move from whatever device you're tuning in from. We'll be right back.
Nursing, home to some of Jamaica's finest and most prestigious nurses. But for those of you who are still along the journey and you're faced with a plethora of challenges, help is here. My name is Sunokia Hibbert, presidential candidate for the year 2020-2021. In light of the COVID-19 crisis, the world over has become more aware of the importance of the profession of nursing. You are the real life superheroes of today, not just tomorrow. And under my administration, we are pledging to do everything that we can to help you become the movers and the shakers and the trendsetters of tomorrow. So on April 8th, Election Day, vote for a new leader with a new vision, going in a new direction. Vote Sinokia Hibbert. Remember, we are taking USM on the ride.
Hello students of the Noble Northern Caribbean University. I am Naketia Mullins, a former Vice President of Spiritual Affairs for the United Student Movement. And today, I sit in full confidence to endorse Miss Sinokia Hibbert for your next President of the United Student Movement. Yes, your next President for the United Student Movement year 2020-21 is Miss Sinokia Hibbert.
The proceeding is made possible by the Rural Refuse Campaign.
Greetings, Jamaica and Northern Caribbean University. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Cleveland Bishop, and we're the founders of the Top Tier Academy. We're a financial education business here in the United States, specifically running out of Atlanta. And we're here to talk to you guys today about Ruel and his potential candidacy for the United Student Movement president position.
Ruel's been one of our outstanding students in the academy, and he's always had big visions with his hedge fund plans. So we've always endorsed it. He has big plans, and he's excited to share everything with you guys there at the campus.
Right. So Ruel is a leader. He's very, very dedicated to learning more and more about finance. But outside of that, you can be, very professional and highly skilled, but if you aren't empathetic and if you don't understand people, then I don't think, any type of leadership position is for you. Ruel definitely has all the attributes of a leader, but then he also has the plan as well. So the hedge fund plan he has is one that centers around conscious capitalism in some way, shape, or form. That is very serious nowadays. People want to know where their money is being invested, and anybody in any capacity right now that is looking to develop their expertise in the financial services world, I think we need that, in this day more than ever, especially with what's happening right now with the coronavirus.
And guys, we are extremely excited to share a little bit more about that plan with you. That's including everyone in Jamaica as well as NCU guys. But again, that can only happen on April 8th if you guys vote. And we'll look forward to hearing from you guys there, guys. Ruel Hay for USM President, guys.
Vote for Ruel. Ruel, we're rooting for you, man. You have our back, and all of the community has your back as well. We want you guys to center around Ruel. He's an awesome candidate. Look into him as much as you can, guys. All right? Let us know if you have any questions. We're here. So, have a good one.
That was made possible by the Rural Refuse Campaign.
It is very challenging to ask students to go above and beyond their academic pursuits, but if given the necessary help and support they need through tutoring, study groups, and academic support services, I believe they will succeed. With the use of these programs, they will be able to tackle the rigors of their academic pursuits, which would result in them not becoming frustrated and dropping out of school. On April 8, 2020, vote Marlene Campbell for your next Vice President of Academic Administration for the United Student Movement 2020 to 2021. So on April 8th, vote for a leader who is genuine, who has been working for all the time that she has been here. Somebody who will listen to you, somebody who will work to make things work for you. Somebody whose passion it is to see your experience at this school be changed and transformed for the better. My name is Sinokia Hibbert. Thank you so much again for watching this video, and remember to vote.
So Ruel, after elected president, how soon will you actually start the work as president-elect?
The moment I become president-elect, I'll be scheduling a courtesy call with the president and his cabinet to ensure that these issues are rectified. It's best to be proactive instead of reactive.
That was made possible by the Rural Refuse Campaign.
virtual presidential and vice presidential United Student Movement 2020 debates. We have been having a wonderful time so far. Can I tell you that before we went on the break, the interlocutors, the presidential candidate interlocutors, they got into it and they really were telling us what separated them and what made them the better candidates. We're going to continue this for just a few more minutes. And we're going to take questions from social media, about 2 or 3 more questions from social media, then the final set of questions from the judging panel, and we'll wrap things up with the ultimate question from social media. So here goes to us presidential candidates. I just want to ensure that they are hearing me clearly and they are there. If they could, come back on screen so I could see them, that would help. Well, the question to our presidential candidates reads from social media. There's a room at Robinson Hall, the bathroom at Robinson Hall is a problem, and it has been around for some time now. What is your plan, aside from lobbying, to change the current situation?
Thank you very much for that question. That question would be referring to the bathroom at the SRT block. I'm thinking. Now the challenge
yes,
there...
and let us remember that we speak carefully at this point. Let's go ahead.
Repeat for me what you just said.
Our language. I'm just reminding our candidate that we monitor our language, even as we speak, our adjectives.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
I would be familiar with the challenge because I would have studied, done a degree in religion and theology, been there, smelled that. Now, the first aspect of infrastructural development will cater to that problem. I've already contacted one of the best plumbers in Montego Bay who has already given me a cost to rectify the entire problem. And from the plans or the profits that will be coming from the hedge fund, we will cater for that.
Thank you very much, Ms. Siebert. I want to ask the candidates, don't turn off your videos, please. When the videos go on and off, it interferes with the feed that we're putting out. So let's keep your videos on for smooth flow. Thank you very much, Ms. Siebert.
Thank you. One of the problems that affect the bathroom at Robinson Hall is not that it is not cleaned properly. It is that there are broken toilets that needs to be fixed or thrown out, and also that there is a water problem. And if we do not fix the water problem, then we're still going to have this issue. But as a means of how it is that I will actually rectify this issue, want to have fundraising events that will garner the finances needed, and then I will take what it is that the USM has accrued and then present my plan to the administration to say this is what we have come up with, or what we can put forward to this plan as a student body. Now we need your help in moving forward so that this can benefit the entire student population.
All right, thank you very much for that. I'm going to go to our judges at this point in time. Ms. Daly, I'll take you first.
Thank you, Sir Nevins. No, as it is, a lot of times, Madam Hibbert and Mr. Hay, students have a misconception of some things that USM is supposed to deal with and some things that administration. What do you think is the distinction, and how then will you communicate that to the students?
Thank you very much for that question. I think the distinction lies in roles and responsibilities. As it pertains to the administration, is responsible for the proper utilization of the funds that they would have received in school fee, paying the teachers, etc., infrastructural development and all of that. And you might think that my approach with infrastructural development, let me be clear, is one of the administration's work. But I would have realized, being here for 5 years, doing my second degree now at NCU, that these challenges, as much as you can advocate, they won't be rectified. So it's just a time now where we need to come up with possible solutions to fix some of these challenges.
All right, thank you very much. And I'm still with my judging panel.
Oh, can I go ahead and speak, Mr. Nevins? That question was for both parties. I agree with Mr. Hay that if the distinction lies within the roles and responsibilities outlined by the Constitution for the USM, but also how will I address that problem? First of all, I think that we need to use media and communication and communicating to the students that, listen, this is what as a USM we have been called into existence to do. These are the powers and the limitations that we do have, and this is how we can work within our constraints to make sure that the issues that we are facing can be addressed. And also to remember that collaboration is important. As a USM, we have to be the bridge and we have to be united.
All right, thank you very much for the responses from our interlocutors. So I now come back to the judges. Do we have another question coming from the judges? One final question from the judges.
If they don't have, I have. But I'm yielding to Mrs. Nelson if she has one.
Mrs. Nelson, we yield to you if you have a question. If not, we will proceed.
I have a question. Just give me a minute, please. My question is, of course, for both candidates. And it's structured in the form of a scenario, not necessarily a regular question.
All right, let us not make it too long a scenario, please. Let us do the scenario.
It's not a very long scenario.
Beautiful. Let us go. And candidates, please respond succinctly. Go ahead, Mrs. Nelson.
You have been, okay. So if it is that you realize that a member of your regime is misappropriating funds, how do you go about resolving such an issue, and not just resolving the issue, but executing proper punishment for such a crime?
All right, there goes a question. Thank you very much, Mrs. Nelson, for that. Candidates, who wants to bat first? Hello.
Yes, I can go.
Thank you, Ms. Bird. Let's go.
First, I believe that there are disciplinary protocols, and as a leader, I would have to execute those disciplinary protocols and also execute them, bearing in mind that this institution has an ethos, and that ethos is founded on biblical principles. And if students cannot trust the members within the USM, then we're not going to have a very successful regime. So I would have to execute those disciplinary protocols while seeking to assist that individual. So because people don't just do things, they do it for a reason. But I would have to execute the disciplinary protocols while ministering to that person.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Hibbert, for being the opening batswoman. We now turn over to Mr. Hay. Mr. Hay, your response to the same question.
Thank you very much for that question, Mrs. Nelson. Now, the Constitution would have spoken to the disciplinary measures. It's a very sad reality to have anybody misappropriating funds. And the Constitution speaks to firing them. And we must note that integrity at all levels is key. And as of such, we have to take the approach from the Constitution.
All right, thank you very much for that, Mr. Hay. I must say that we are actually at the end. We have one more question to go, but I just want to use this opportunity to thank all the candidates, from the vice presidential candidates all the way down to the presidential candidates. I will give opportunity to the director of elections to give his closing remarks soon. But just to say from the moderating position, thank you to all our candidates for what they would have done. And thank you for those who are listening and viewing for sending in your questions. I have one question here from social media. After that question, we will hand over to the director of elections, who will give us the closing remarks and closing prayer. The final question from social media is to both candidates. And I'm just trying to bring up the question that was here. And the question reads, what separates you from the other? That's the shortest question all day. Let's go. This is to the presidential
What
candidates.
separates me from my opponent is that I'm here for the people, and I come with a plan that incorporates both logic and emotion to institute change.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hay. Ms. Ebert.
Thank you. I am not only a diligent and hard worker and have been working for the students, which can be seen and proven in my track record in my interactions with various departments and various clubs on campus, but I am a genuine person. I believe in student advocacy, and I have been working with students from this institution from my being here in this institution, and I will continue that work to an even greater extent.
Thank you very much to all our candidates. Thank you very much to our viewers and listeners. This has been a wonderful debate. You will never see another one like this in 2020 from Northern Caribbean University United Student Movement regime under the guidance of President Allen and Director of Election Policies and Constitutional Affairs, Michael Allen, and the entire team. I'm going to sign out now as I turn over to Mr. Allen to give the closing remarks on the day's proceeding. I had a wonderful time with you guys. See you at the polls tomorrow. Mr. Allen?
Thank you, Mr. Nevins. What a round, indeed, heated. I was about to take off my jacket in some of those sessions. This debate has really shown us the flexibility of our leaders and how much they are able to critically think on the spot. The question is, my fellow students, have you seen your next VP of Academics? Have you seen your next VP of Finance and Planning? Have you seen your next president? Then vote tomorrow, April 8, 2020. Make your voice count as we demonstrate that there is power in student government and representation here at Northern Caribbean University. We thank you for joining us for this insightful and exciting debate.
Thank you very much, Sir Allen. I will just ask you to just close in prayer as we end this session.
Sure, let us pray. Eternal Father, we thank you so much for your grace and your mercies. We thank you for the ability to successfully conduct this debate through this online medium. We pray, O Lord, that your Holy Spirit will indeed work, and may our students think critically and vote wisely, so that the best student leaders are chosen to advocate the cause of student government here on the noble beacon on the hill. Thank you for hearing our prayers. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for listening. And Mr. Allen, you may want to communicate into the group later if there's any stipulation as to the cutoff time for campaigning when you have the forum a little bit later. So just pointing that out to you. Thank you all very much. We're going to sign out right now. Have a wonderful time. See you at the polls.